This is the Gravel Hill Middle School, which Paige and I had the chance to visit recently, but we haven't been in middle school for a very long time and have no desire to repeat that atrocious stage of life. Besides, no classes have been held in this crumbling building for almost 2 decades. What is held there is much more surprising. Although estimates range, there may be enough LEGO bricks out there for every person on Earth to have 82. That's enough plastic to stack to the moon, and back, 8 times. And a startling number of these bricks are stacked inside the old Gravel Hill Middle School. We couldn't quite believe it was open. From the outside, the building seems less LEGOLAND and more LEGO landfill.
To me, this building does not say museum. This building says condemned.
This suspicion seemed confirmed when we found the gates locked and the lot vacant. Before giving up entirely, we decided to actually check the hours for the museum, which it turns out is probably something you should do before driving 400 miles to see something. Having now done the bare minimum research, we discovered that the museum was only open on weekends at the time, so we vowed to return the following morning, Saturday. The next day, it didn't look any less vacant, sitting squatly like the cover of a Goosebumps book, but we gave it another shot and found it miraculously open for business. Considering the stark exterior, we didn't know what to expect, but as we poked our heads in, we were immediately flabbergasted. Just inside the lobby was this enormous 500-pound Babar the elephant, which was originally built in 1993 and had spent its life sitting in the lobby of the Yale New Haven Children's Hospital. We hardly had time to take it in though before a very friendly staff member saw us and ushered us up the stairs. We bought tickets with her before heading off to explore the museum in earnest. It's split across 3 floors, a spectacular 36,000 square feet of jaw-dropping LEGO artwork. Each level has a main atrium where a mishmash of LEGO creations are displayed, and several rooms branching off the remnants of old classrooms, each with a loose theme for the models within. This entire showcase is owned by one man, one of the world's largest private collectors of LEGO, Dan Brown. Not the author, but rather an eccentric computer recycler who has devoted his life outside of work to collecting discarded and disused models. While the collection is impressive, it's also very clearly maintained by just one man, and he may also lay claim to the world's largest private collection of dust.
What is this supposed to be?
I think it's an asbestos holder. What's happened?
Despite wear and tear, the models are magnificent. The first one we looked at here appeared to be a scale replica of the Saskatchewan Legislative building in central Canada, at least according to the words spelled out in brick on top of the building, although it does seem to be a fairly generous interpretation of the architecture. Truer to its source material was the following model of the Ohio Veterans Glass City Skyway, built by software engineer Dwayne Collicott. Many of the museum's builds are not constructed by LEGO employees, but rather obsessive hobbyists who call themselves AFOLs, adult fans of LEGO. Although this community only accounts for around 5% of LEGO's sales, it holds an impressive sway over the direction LEGO moves with its products. AFOLs take LEGO extremely seriously. Private sellers will even sometimes list bricks for sale as coming from a non-smoking home, as builders feel smoke can ruin the quality of the LEGO. The AFOL community actually includes some familiar faces. Ed Sheeran, for example, is a proud LEGO enthusiast who even admitted that he once ruined a date because he was more interested in building the LEGO set that he had brought along with him.
I once went on a date and brought a LEGO set and made the LEGO set and then left.
Insert your own LEGO house joke here. Most of the designers we'd come to know along the way aren't especially famous though, but rather regular people with an extraordinary talent for LEGO. It's not just AFOLs either. The models here have come from all over. We were next entranced by Soccer City, which was originally displayed at the National Soccer Hall of Fame in upstate New York. The museum closed in 2010, due mostly to lack of funds from being in the middle of literally nowhere, and sold off many of its displays. The soccer museum would later reopen, however much updated and at an entirely new Texas location, leaving this model for Dan's collection. We were intrigued by the model's strangeness, and I asked Paige what she thought the weirdest part was.
It has to be Miss B's School for Monkeys. I don't see a single monkey.
No,
I guess they're in school.
not one. There's this guy who's getting mugged for his soccer
Poor
ball.
guy.
I felt another strong contender was the building filled entirely with loose soccer balls, labeled First National Soccer Bank. Delightfully, the model was also automated.
Oh!
Oh,
Maybe,
push and hold. Push and hold.
Some minifigures seemed a little confused on what they were meant to be doing, though.
This is his first day on the job.
It's gonna take longer than we expected.
LEGO sports themes actually made a pretty drastic impact on LEGO as we see it nowadays. The first minifigures were released in 1978, bearing the now classic neon yellow coloring. LEGO intentionally chose this color to be race neutral, which lasted mostly without incident until 1999, when LEGO began producing its first themed sets for Star Wars, coinciding with the release of Phantom Menace. Despite the new film, the sets were based on the original trilogy and featured many of the iconic characters, all present in bright yellow. One character was notably missing from the party though, and fans began to question the absence of Lando Calrissian. Some speculated that he might be missing because LEGO wasn't sure how to incorporate the yellow headpiece, a speculation that LEGO began to hear. 4 years later, in 2003, LEGO decided to act with its big release of a new sports line, the LEGO NBA series. This was the first line of minifigures to represent real people, and also the first time LEGO would change skin tone to accurately capture the look of real people. This decision would soon bleed over to every licensed LEGO property, with the decision to portray characters' accurate skin tones across the board. 2003 also finally saw Lando join the LEGO world. I was especially excited for the first themed room we visited.
Okay.
This room featured statues of fictional icons. Included was a number of Harry Potter items, my personal favorite LEGO property. It also included the first LEGO mural we'd seen so far.
It's good. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It looks a bit pimply.
I suppose you're not truly capturing the essence of an 11-year-old unless they're covered in acne. This room was also host to Scooby-Doo, Dora, and SpongeBob statues.
It's a girthy schnoz.
We next headed to the Western-themed room. Prominently featured in one corner is a group of supersized minifigs playing poker. This group is actually an acquisition from LEGOLAND, California. Several sculptures throughout the museum are former LEGOLAND exhibits actually, including this exceptionally detailed White House model and this polar bear from LEGOLAND, Denmark. He was actually one of 3, but the other 2 have since been destroyed. Also featured prominently in the Western room are the exceptional and slightly frightening LEGO Bart and Milhouse.
Something about the eyes is haunting.
These creations are from AFOL Eric C. Harshbarger, who is one of the most delightfully odd members of the community. On his website, he introduces himself with a short biography where he claims to be the first person to make a living from LEGO who's not employed by LEGO, before making a hard turn and spending the remainder of his introduction unleashing a manifesto on why modern website design is bad. Indeed, he devoutly sticks to a 90s text-based design across his slew of websites. These sites are devoted to many interests. One documents his scores from Scrabble tournaments. Another lets you read through hundreds of palindromes he has invented. He even has a custom map documenting the locations of active water spigots around Auburn, Alabama. He also takes special care to note that he doesn't own a mobile phone and that his birthday is wrong on Wikipedia. In his community, he's probably most recognizable, however, as a math professor at Auburn University, where he is much loved, according to his Rate My Professor. Of course, his most interesting site is the one where he documents each LEGO creation he builds, a number of which are in the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum. The Bart Simpson weighs in at 30 pounds, and Harshbarger notes that aside from enjoying the build, it was also practical, as it helped him balance his brick supply by removing a large stash of yellows without compromising much of his stock of white and black. He would lose a large number of whites on Millhouse, however, the character is traditionally depicted with a light purple shirt, a color that is hard to come by in LEGO. This scarcity led to the decision to dress him in the white shirt instead. His other work in the museum includes a large chess set, made with another color compromise. The set features red pieces instead of the traditional white because the slope pieces needed to build are more, well, readily available in red. Also in the museum is his Pegasus mosaic. He wanted to experiment here by shedding color altogether and focusing on solid white artwork done in relief. The inspiration for this Pegasus actually comes from the Mobile Oil mascot. Finding the right colors is always troublesome for hobbyist builders. In fact, Eric didn't have enough white slope pieces when building his first draft, but thanks to an impulse buy some years before of 20 LEGO pumpkins, he was able to complete the draft in orange instead, later ordering new white pieces for the final sculpture. He's no stranger to mosaics. For the Ripley's Believe It or Not TV show, he built a 10-foot mosaic of the show's host, Dean Cain, a segment that he's never actually seen because he doesn't watch TV. Rounding off the Western Room is a mock general store and a clown hiding, for no apparent reason, in an authentic 18th century post office. Perhaps the most prized inclusion, evident as it's the only display behind glass, is a handful of genuine wooden LEGO toys. Founded by carpenter Ole Kirk Christensen, LEGO was always devoted to toy making. The name LEGO itself derived from a Danish phrase meaning play well. But before moving into plastic toys and eventually settling on the iconic connecting bricks, the LEGO group spent 15 years designing wooden toys. Christensen himself was every bit as eccentric as modern AFOLs. Apparently, one of his favorite things to do was dump buckets of water on unsuspecting friends, who probably soon after became former friends. The next room was zoo-themed, highlighting a jolly Winnie the Pooh, a monkey whose eyes follow you across the room, and a 10-foot-tall giraffe. After completing this floor, we headed down a level. As we were changing floors, we definitely felt the sudden reminder that this was all very much inside an abandoned school. We were still mulling over the weird contrast of location versus content when a disembodied voice called out asking how we were enjoying the museum so far. The owner of this voice turned out to be Dan Brown himself. He was very pleasant and chatty, clearly proud of his collection and excited to share stories with anyone interested, which we very much were. He shared tales of his legal battles with LEGO, who have worked hard to close down his museum. As a company that's extremely strict about quality control, they're not happy to support a museum outside of their jurisdiction. His seemingly never-ending legal battle with LEGO actually led to the company's ban on his use of the LEGO trademark. That's why it's the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum. LEGO forced him to remove the company name from any advertisements. We also learned about the challenges of maintaining such a vast museum. Dan actually owns a second school building where he stores all of his spare materials. There's some interesting things laying dormant in the second building as well, including a traditional LEGO set accidentally shipped out in Bionicle packaging. This second building is also referred to as the LEGO Crack House, for reasons that are not entirely clear and perhaps better left that way. After chatting with Dan, we continued to explore the middle floor. The piece de resistance of this level is a colossal robot featured on the TV show Shipping Wars. The show revolves around several disproportionately angry truck drivers bidding on who gets to deliver fragile packages cross-country.
You need to settle down for a minute.
Shove it up your ass.
Dan is featured on Season 2, Episode 4, where a number of drivers bid on the robot, as well as a dragon sculpture we'd see later on in our tour. Other than some delightfully contrived drama where Dan freaks out over a missing part, immediately found in the truck, the delivery seems to go smoothly. The second floor's themed rooms included a castle room. Here rests the dragon from Shipping Wars and the chess set mentioned earlier, played by a cheery wizard from a Georgian Lego store that went out of business. There's also a knight so large that it took 4 guys to carry him in, and an elf named Buddy who used to greet people at the front door. The clear centerpiece of this room is the Castle Siege diorama, built by Dan himself.
I think they came a little over-prepared. As far as I can tell, that tower has 2 guards.
This build is an homage to the classic yellow castle, a rare set that can sell for nearly $500 new on eBay. The floor also boasts a boat-themed room with many impressive aquatic builds, and even includes a plastic pirate dummy used for promotional video and flyers. One that ironically got lost on a boat for over a year while traveling from England. Star Wars was a turning point for LEGO. It was the first license market that LEGO tested with great success. It led to developments including the first unique LEGO headpiece, for Jar Jar Binks of all things, and of course would eventually inspire the LEGO Star Wars video games. While not the first LEGO video games, this popular style inspired games across basically every other LEGO property and propelled LEGO to be one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time. The museum honors this legacy with a Star Wars room, including some exceptional builds like this giant Star Destroyer that even has its own Instagram, and a life-sized battle droid. Although deactivated when we saw it, footage from a BrickFest convention shows that this marvel was actually fully automated. Although we caught only the briefest glimpse on film, this LEGO Statue of Liberty with a lightsaber was actually built by one of the most famous LEGO artists in the world, Nathan Sawaya. You may even recognize one of his most famous pieces, and my personal favorite, just called Yellow. While some builders have an on-again, off-again relationship with LEGO as a company, Nathan has fostered an extremely good relationship with the LEGO Group. Even though he's not an actual employee of the company, he's been recognized by LEGO as one of the best builders in the world, and given the honorary title of a LEGO Certified Professional, one of only 21 in the world. His builds have garnered him a book deal and a number of TV appearances, including the Colbert Report, where he presented Stephen Colbert with a life-sized model of himself, and even as a consulting producer for the smash hit building competition LEGO Masters, where he has helped design challenges. Most impressively, his building skills have nabbed him 3 world records: largest LEGO skeleton, largest LEGO Batmobile, and most breathtaking of all, largest LEGO set recreation. This was a 2-scale recreation of Central Perk from the TV show Friends, commissioned by Warner Bros. As part of a 25th anniversary celebration. It's scary accurate. Sawaya was even given special access to Friends props, so that he could take precise measurements for the recreation. Back to the museum. Another train-themed exhibit showcases model rails, overseen by a majestic LEGO mural of Mount Rushmore. This mosaic was commissioned to Brickworks, a website where you can actually send a photo and have it returned as custom LEGO art. This floor is filled with so many other builds as well. This one is Redman, created by Microsoft software engineer David Winkler for BrickFest 2006.
Oh my gosh.
He's got buns of steel.
Look at those rosy cheeks.
Buns of plastic brick.
It actually has a companion in another museum, Yellow Man. Winkler said the building process for Redman was slow, partially because of the gluing, forcing him to take constant breaks to allow glue fumes to dissipate. The glue also caused another issue. Partway through the build, he had to leave on a business trip, and the last thing he did before flying out was to glue a piece in the wrong place. When he got back, it took the combined muscle of him and a roommate to rip it off. Trips have been another Achilles heel for Winkler. Once, while transporting a build, the TSA took it apart to inspect and then reassembled it randomly. I can only imagine Winkler probably shed about 3 ounces of tears, which was then promptly discarded by the TSA. While predominantly LEGO, the museum also squeaks out a handful of nods to other iconic toys, including Playmobil and the dreaded Mega Bloks.
Okay, this shouldn't be allowed. No wonder they got a cease and desist from LEGO.
Midway through wondering why we hadn't seen any staff members in a while, we also came across whatever this thing was.
This looks like the calcified body of an employee.
After finishing with a fright, we descended into the still spookier basement level. The first room here, with lighting possibly inspired by the works of Jigsaw, was the eerie carnival-themed space.
What's this? What's this? What's this?
This room holds one of Dan's proudest acquisitions, a working LEGO merry-go-round. This floor is also host to a long hallway seemingly stuffed with models that don't quite fit with other themed rooms. There's an interactive robot from a Toys R Us display. There's a walk-in submarine with a LEGO toilet. Even the floor gets in on the theme. This is discarded carpeting formerly coating the LEGO corporate headquarters. Perhaps the most memorable sculpture was this rodent lifeguard. Dan has been vague over the years about its exact story, but apparently it was formerly featured in either a strip club or a porno. Regardless, wash your hands after leaving this room. Even with so much to see in the basement, you won't find the true showstopper until you get to the former gymnasium. Stored here is only a single build, a build that is almost certainly Dan's proudest moment as a LEGO fan. Dan, with the contribution of many of the builders mentioned earlier and around 250 local kids, built a startling mosaic that stretches across the entire basketball court for 44 feet in length, clocking just over 870 square feet in total area. Proudly displayed alongside the mural is Dan's crowning achievement, the official certification from Guinness World Records that he is the builder of the largest LEGO image in the world. It's unclear if Dan's record was ever beaten, as the category doesn't seem to exist any longer, but regardless, the piece is quite a sight. Topping it off, we discovered a booth where you can activate a quirky 3-piece LEGO robot band called Plastica, who will twitch about for a few minutes while singing a synth-pop jam called Just Imagine.
Absolutely what is going on.
Fast racing cars. Just imagine big dinosaurs.
The band was formerly displayed at New York's FAO Schwarz toy store, but perhaps their talents are better suited to an abandoned basement. To wrap up our adventure, we naturally visited the gift shop. This was actually the first area built in the museum, proving that Dan certainly has an entrepreneurial eye. Largely, it's filled with legitimate LEGO sets, but what I found most enchanting were the hundreds of off-brand custom minifigures for sale. I couldn't tell you where they're from. The cashier wouldn't narrow it down any further than China, but I couldn't get enough of looking at them. They were all surprisingly well designed, and as a big fan of Stephen King, I settled on a Pennywise designed after the 2017 film version. Nowadays, he rides atop a fire-breathing dragon in our apartment, a set that had an unfortunate encounter with a candle and turned out to be ironically not flame-resistant. But perhaps there's no better way to honor Dan's legacy than by proudly displaying a slightly run-down model with a great story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.